Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me. My name is Sue Botino. I'm the director at Newton Community Farm, and I'm excited to have you here with me today to do some story time together. In my previous careers, I have worked a lot with books, particularly children's books, and I've done story time before, so I'm really excited to be able to do it again today with you. So first, I want to welcome you to our YouTube live channel. It's very exciting, something new we're trying at the farm to support you, our community, and to show you that we're still here. We're here for you. We're busy at the farm, and we're building community any way we can right now. So I hope you enjoy our programs. On Mondays, live at 1 o'clock, we have Jay Villar, who's our operations, communications, and events manager. He's doing online live cooking classes. He's also a nutritional therapist. So those are going to be great. And on Wednesdays at 1 o'clock live, we have Hope Kelly, who's our new interim director of education. She'll be talking to us about farming, gardening, things like that. And some of the time she'll be able to film the program live from the farm. So you'll be able to see what she's doing to prepare the learning garden this year, how things are going at the farm. We'll be able to see Farmer Greg and Assistant Farm Manager B working in the field. So that's all very exciting. So I have a couple more things to tell you quickly, and then I'll begin with story time. We are still planning on having our seedling sale in May. We're figuring out the logistics of that right now, but rest assured, we're going to have plenty of plants and produce for you coming up soon. And right now the farm is closed. We aren't having the public come to the farm because of the COVID-19 pandemic. But please know that we are all working very hard to prepare for the time when we can all be together again and welcome you back to the farm. One of our story times will feature chicks and chickens, and I'm excited to let you know that we right now have about 28 18-day-old peeps that we're raising. They're adorable. If you want to follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, we often post pictures and videos there of all sorts of things about the farm, including the amazing little peeps. So please do that. Please follow us or ask your parents to. You'll see in the corner of your screen that we have a live chat feature. So feel free to chat with me. Let me know what you're doing, if you have any comments, if you have any questions, anything you want to say or do or reach out, just use that chat feature in the corner and I'll be able to see it and respond to you right now. I'll know from Peter Rabbit, the story, if you've read that, are sometimes a nuisance on a farm or in a garden, but I think they're incredibly cute, and they also have a lot of good purposes, and I'm sure a lot of you have seen them in your yards or when you've been out on walks lately. Right now in the spring, they're just starting to come out from their burrows. They're having babies in there. I often see them around my yard in Newtonville at dusk when I go for walks with my dog, Jenny. So I thought rabbits would be a good one to start with today. So first I'll introduce you to some rabbit friends that I have here. Our first rabbit is Pink Carrot Bunny. This rabbit does not have a real name, so if anybody wants to type in with a suggestion for a name for him, that would be great. This rabbit belongs to my daughter. We've had it in our family for 12 years. My second friend is this little bunny who's eating one of a bunny's favorite food, which is carrots. In reality, the bunny would probably start down here because bunnies really love greens the most, but they do love to eat carrots as well. Our third bunny is my son's bunny. He used to have the ability to bark when you squeezed his paw because that's what my son decided to make the noise be that came with this bunny. Unfortunately, that's worn out because we've had this bunny for about, I'd say maybe 7 years. He's very soft. And our final guest bunny is Dun dun dun! My bunny from when I was a child. This is Snuffy. As you can see, Snuffy's a little worse for wear. He's had several plastic surgeries. He's a little tattered. But I've had this bunny since I was 4 years old, and I will always have this bunny. This is my favorite stuffed animal that I had growing up as a child, and have a lot of good memories with this little bunny. So in today's story time or future story times, feel free to bring some stuffed animals with you, have them sit with you, hold them on your lap. It can be nice to have a friend with you at this time. So I've got my bunny sitting here with me. Our first book is by Margaret Weiss Brown. And I'm going to turn this so that you all can see the book and not just me, because the illustrations in this book are beautiful. This book is called Home for a Bunny. Margaret Weiss Brown also wrote Goodnight Moon. She wrote One Runaway Bunny. She wrote over 100 children's books. So you've probably read some of her books, or your parents have read them to you. This book is also illustrated by Garth Williams. And I like to say who illustrated the books because to me, one of my favorite parts of children's books are the illustrations. And this one has beautiful, beautiful pictures. So I'm sitting outside right now at my house. You might hear piano music in the background. That's my neighbor who's an opera singer. You might hear my wind chimes. It's such a beautiful day. I wanted to be outside. So here we go. Let's get started. Home for a Bunny. Let me get this lined up right. Okay, here we go. Spring, 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 sang the frog. Spring, said the groundhog. Spring, 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 sang the robin. It was spring. The leaves burst out, the flowers burst out, and robins burst out of their eggs. It was spring. In the spring, a bunny came down the road. He was going to find a home of his own. A home for a bunny, a home of his own. Under a rock, under a stone, under a log, or under the ground. Where would a bunny find a home? Where is your home? He asked the robin. Here, 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 sang the robin. Here in this nest is my home. Here, 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 sang the little robins, who were about to fall out of the nest. Here is our home. Not for me, said the bunny. I would fall out of the nest. I would fall on the ground. So he went on looking for a home. Where is your home? He asked the frog. Wog, 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 sang the frog. Wog, 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 under the water, down in the bog. Not for me, said the bunny. Under the water, I would drown in a bog. So he went on looking for a home. Where do you live? He asked the groundhog. In a log, said the groundhog. Can I come in? Said the bunny. No, you can't come in my log, said the groundhog. So the bunny went down the road. Down the road and down the road he went. He was going to find a home of his own, a home for a bunny, a home of his own, under a rock or a log or a stone. Where would a bunny find a home? Down the road and down the road and down the road he went until, oh, there's a train passing by my house. Hope you can hear that. He met a bunny. Where is your home? He asked the bunny. Aw. Let's see what that bunny says. Here, 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 said the bunny. Here is my home. Under this rock, under this stone, down under the ground. Here is my home. "Can I come in?" said the bunny. "Yes," said the bunny, and so he did. And that was his home. Ah, so sweet. The end. I love that book. It's so sweet. Yes, they're roommates now. So, in addition to reading you stories, I'm going to tell you a few stories. I also have a few jokes to tell you. The first one is, what is a rabbit's favorite dance style? I'll wait for your guesses. Feel free to write in the chat box if you have some ideas. Nobody knows? It's hip hop. Ha 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 ha. The next joke is, where do rabbits like to work? I bet you didn't know that rabbits have jobs. And if you were a rabbit, where do you think you might like to work? Personally, I would like to work at Newton Community Farm. The answer is IHOP. Ah! International House of Pancakes, also known as IHOP, because bunnies like to hop. All right, let's move on with our next book. Carrot Factory would also be good, or garden. Good suggestions, everyone. Our next book is called The Spring Rabbit. So both of these books have had a spring theme, which is appropriate considering that it's such a beautiful day outside. Spring is here. Maybe if you're outside, you can take a walk around, look for signs of spring. I like to take pictures of things I see related to spring. I've seen tulips coming up, daffodils, starting to see hyacinths, definitely crocuses, some vinca flowers. I'm seeing more squirrels and rabbits in my yard. What else? I'm seeing leaves starting to bud on the trees in my neighborhood. Grass is starting to get a little bit greener because it's getting more sunlight. Okay, so let's move on to our next book. The Spring Rabbit by Joyce Dunbar, and the illustrations are by Susan Varley. This is a book that's out of print now, which means it's hard to find. It's too bad it's out of print because it's such a good book. And I love the illustrations. There's a little bunny sniffing some tulips. Pretty soon our tulips will be popping. This is the bunny. Okay, trying to get it lined up. All the little rabbits that lived in the wood had brothers and sisters, all except Smudge. "Why haven't I got a sister or a brother?" he asked his mother. "Wait until the spring," she answered. Spring seemed a long way away. Smudge watched on a cold autumn morning as the other rabbits chased falling leaves. Then he had an idea. He made a leaf rabbit with leafy broken twigs. "You can be my brother," he said to the leaf rabbit. "Let's chase each other down the hill." The leaf rabbit didn't answer. Then the wind blew all the leaves away, leaving only the bare twigs. "Wait until the spring," said a mouse. But spring was a long time coming. Later the snow fell. Smudge made a snow rabbit. "You can be my sister," he said to the snow rabbit. "Let's have a game of snowball." But the snow rabbit couldn't play snowball. Next day, the snow rabbit melted. Wait until spring, said a robin. Oh, that's another thing. I've been seeing a lot of our robins. But spring was a long time coming. When the snow melted, Smudge made a mud rabbit. You can be my brother, he said to the mud rabbit. Let's splash about in the puddles. But the mud rabbit didn't splash about. The rain came and washed it away. Wait until spring, said a frog. At last came the first signs of spring. All the twigs were sprouting green shoots, and the buds were beginning to show. Smudge went looking for his brother. He looked in the hollows of the trees, but he found no sign of a brother, only a mouse hole full of baby mice. Look at the babies. So many little babies. This one up there. There are no rabbits here, said the mouse. Sorry. He looked in the bushes and the branches and the brambles, but he didn't find a brother there either. Only a bird's nest with 6 speckled eggs. There are no rabbits here, said the robin. He looked in the reeds by the pond, but he didn't find a brother there either. Only frog spawn, full of tiny tadpoles. There are no rabbits here, said the frog. Smudge felt very sad and lonely. At last he went home. Poor Smudge. I can't find my spring brother anywhere, he said to his mother. You were looking in all the wrong places, she said, showing him 3 tiny bundles. See what we have here? Let me show you this closely. Look what they have there. Baby bunnies. Smudge was overjoyed. He had 2 baby brothers and a baby sister. As soon as they were hopping about, he made them an enormous moss rabbit. And everyone knew that spring had come. The end. I like that story so much. That Smudge is really creative. I hope that while you have this time at home, you're spending some time creating as well. Making some crafts, maybe baking or cooking, building things, using Legos, marble runs, drawing, painting. There's so many things you can do right now. All right, I've got another joke for you. How do you know if a rabbit is in a good mood? You know, rabbits don't make a lot of noise, although they are able to squeak. They don't usually. So how do you know if a rabbit is in a good mood? He's happy. Ha ha ha. Now I'll tell you a story from my life. I have 2 bunny stories to tell you. I'll tell you the first from when I was a child and I had a pet rabbit. I grew up in western Pennsylvania in the middle of nowhere in farming country, mostly dairy farming, lots of corn as well. We had a big yard and I wanted a rabbit. So I don't remember the exact circumstances around how I got this rabbit. I would say that I was probably about 10 years old and I got a beautiful brown rabbit, probably from a farmer friend of the family. And I named this rabbit Thumper, and he looked just like the brown rabbits that you see outside right now. He was a wonderful little rabbit. He was a great pet. I also had cats growing up, outdoor cats, and we often had lots of bird dogs, English setter bird dogs as well. We didn't have any indoor pets. That wasn't allowed. So my bunny had a hutch that my dad made outside that we had next to our barn in the backyard, right next to our big garden, which was really great for the bunny because he got to have all the parts of the garden that we didn't use. He got all the carrot tops, which he absolutely loved. He got lots of greens, the tops of other vegetables to try out, but carrot tops were his favorite. So in the wintertime, I would put Thumper in the pocket of my big puffy blue jacket and take him all around the yard with me. He was really warm and snug in there, and it was great to have a friend with me all the time. So I hope he liked it. I think he did. I think he thought it was a little burrow, and he snuggled up in there. And then in the spring, I did two things with him. I had a little harness for him, so I'd take him all around the yard. We'd go for lots of walks. We had a big yard, 2 acres, like I said, in rural Pennsylvania with no development, lots of woods, and Thumper and I would go for lots of walks. Although he didn't really walk, he hopped. He was a great little pet. And then the other thing I did when the weather got nice was put out some fencing material and make a circle out of it and put him in there, and he would just eat all the grass. He would mow the lawn in one small circular spot and fertilize it by making tiny bunny poop. And he was a wonderful pet. So I don't know if any of you have pet rabbits, but if you do, let me know if you've ever had one. They make wonderful pets. I've had friends who've had them indoors. They've litter trained them. I would love to have a rabbit, but unfortunately I have an insane dog, so we can't have any rabbits right now because she likes to chase them. So, okay, I'm going to move on to our next story, which is titled Too Many Carrots. And this book was written and illustrated by the same person, Katie Hudson. So not only did she write the story, but she also drew the pictures for it. Something you might want to try while you're at home. Writing a story, keeping a journal, drawing pictures, illustrating your story. Now's a great time to try that. So here we are. Too many carrots. Look at that bunny way at the top of that huge pile of carrots. Carrots are something we grow a lot of at the farm. Oh, and I'm hearing from our director of operations, communications, and events, Jay, that they have they have a rabbit and a lot of turkeys at the community garden where he lives in Massachusetts. Too many carrots. I love how colorful and bright this book is. And I love the round little bunny rabbit. This is the front page where they tell you the information about the book and how it was published and when, what its Library of Congress number is, where it was printed, who designed it and put it together. And the nice thing about this book is it's illustrated on this page. Usually this is a blank white page, but this author illustrator wanted to make it really fun for everyone. So she's got some signs here that say Team Carrot, Keep Calm and Carrot On, I Love Carrots, books about carrot recipes, carrot desserts, carrot poetry, little seedlings of carrots, all kinds of interesting things. It's got a shopping list here. Carrot cake, carrot juice, carrot jelly, and carrot milkshakes. I think this rabbit likes carrots. Oh, I was right. Rabbit loved carrots. He collected them wherever he went. Look how he pulled them out of the ground. Pop, 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 pop. And he's in somebody's garden, I think, where it says no trespassing. And there's a sign here that specifically prohibits bunny rabbits. And yet, here he is, stuffing himself with carrots. Naughty bunny. Rabbit was so proud of his collection and burrowed them away in his cozy hole. But Rabbit had a problem, a big problem. What do you think his problem was? Let's see. He couldn't sleep. Look at him piled up with his carrots. His cozy hole was too crowded to live in. I need a place to sleep, Rabbit told Tortoise. You could share my house, Tortoise offered. Rabbit thought. It looks cozy and snug. Maybe it's a little too snug for two, suggested Tortoise. Not at all, said Rabbit. Look at him. He climbed inside Tortoise's shell. Uh-oh. Rabbit and Tortoise tried to sleep, but it was much too tight. Uh-oh, ouch, oh dear, cried Tortoise. Crash. Look at him. Boing, 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 boing. Oh dear, well perhaps we can stay in Bird's nest above, said Rabbit. My nest is quite small, Rabbit, said Bird. It's fine, said Rabbit, ignoring Bird's warning. He hauled all his carrots up the tree and into the nest. Whoa, groaned Tortoise and Bird as the branch wobbled and swayed. Uh-oh. Carrots can be pretty heavy. And the branch snapped. Crash! Oh dear, I'm so sorry, Bird. Now 3 of us don't have a place to sleep, said Rabbit. You can sleep in my house, said Squirrel. Rabbit has so many nice friends. Oh, thank you, Squirrel. How kind of you, said Rabbit as he picked up all his carrots. I don't think any more carrots will fit, Rabbit, said Squirrel. Just a few more, Rabbit replied. Uh-oh, whimpered Tortoise, Bird, and Squirrel as the tree started to shake. Crash! Oh, no. Now, 4 of us don't have anywhere to sleep, grumbled Squirrel. You can sleep in my house, called Beaver. It has plenty of space. Great! I can bring even more carrots, Rabbit said with a smile. But with all your carrots, we can't fit inside, said Beaver, a bit bewildered. No worries, said Rabbit. We can all fit. I don't know what this rabbit is talking about. Just then the rain started. Tortoise shivered, Bird whimpered, Squirrel squeaked, and Beaver heard a terrible rumble as his house collapsed. Oh no, my house, yelled Beaver. Oh no, my carrots, cried Rabbit. Ah, look at them. Oh no, Beaver's house collapsed. Everybody's being swept into the water. What's gonna happen? Crash! The friends came to a stop when they hit the muddy riverbank. Oh, look at poor Squirrel. Rabbit felt terrible. His friends were cold, tired, and homeless, and it was all his fault. Rabbit still had all his carrots and his house, and that's when he realized there was only one thing to do. Share everything with his friends. After all, carrots weren't for collecting, they were for sharing. And they're having a carrot party. Everything better. The end. What did you think? Okay, I'll tell you another story about rabbits. When I was in 4th grade, I had a wonderful science teacher named Mr. Howard. And we had a classroom pet, and it was a beautiful black rabbit. And that little rabbit would hop all around class and visit everybody. And Mr. Howard always let the bunny out when we were taking tests because he knew that we were a little bit nervous. He was a great teacher, and our tests were lots of fun. Usually, sometimes we played them like a board game, and each row of kids was a team. So that was super fun. But sometimes we had to do written tests. And we had to do standardized tests like a lot of you have to do in school usually as well. So when we had to do those tests that made everybody a little bit nervous, the bunny would always be allowed to run around and hop around in the class. So because when I get nervous, my hands get very sweaty and salty, probably more information than you need to know, the bunny always liked me a lot. He would come over and he'd lick my hands because bunnies like salt. And if you've ever had a pet rabbit, you know that it's a nice thing to do to put a little salt lick in their hutch. It's like an oval-shaped white piece of chalk almost it looks like, but it's a salt lick. And when the bunny needs salt, he goes over and he licks it, just like deer like salt. So whenever we had a test in class, I'd always have the little black bunny next to me, licking my hands and making me feel a little bit calmer when I was nervous about doing my test. The other funny thing about bunnies is that they love to chew, and they actually need to chew to wear down their teeth. And our bunny, Thumper, the one that I had when I was in around fifth grade, he started to chew the inside of his hutch, and he almost chewed himself right out of his house. So much like the bunny in the story we just read, he started to destroy his own house and make it uninhabitable. Although he did it because he chewed on the wood, and this bunny did it because he stuffed his house full of carrots. So that's my latest story for you. I have one more of my own stories to tell you and two more stories to read you. The next one is a book that I discovered a few years ago when I was at Newtonville Bookstore, which some of you might know in Newton Center. It's owned by my friends Mary and Jamie. And I love this book. I love book clubs. I love reading. I've gotten to do a lot of reading in the evenings over the past 2 weeks. I hope to keep doing more as well. I have a huge stockpile of books, so I'm never going to run out of books to read. And I hope that you do too, or you can go online and look at some of the free resources that are available. This book is called Bunny's Book Club. And I know I've said it before, but I love the illustrations in this children's book. The book is by Annie Silvestro. And, see right here it says, illustrations are by Tatiana Mai Wiss. I'm going to read you this book, and I hope you like it as much as I do. This will give you a hint about what the book is about. You can look at the cover, and you'll see all these different animals reading books. Who do you see? I see squirrel, bunny, raccoon, see a bird, a frog, a nice bear, little mouse down here, a porcupine, and this one is a mole. I think that's all I see. I also see a butterfly insect, some pretty flowers that look like maybe daisies, a little mushroom, a beautiful big tree. Oh, there's two birds. Okay. The inside of this book looks like the way an old-fashioned library card used to work. There used to be a pocket and a book and a little card. And when you check the book out, you would get it stamped with the date it was due back and maybe your name or your library card number. So if you ever check out a very old book from one of the public libraries, you might see that it still has this little pocket inside. The library would keep this card so that they would know who had the book. I still remember the Burgettstown Community Library where I went as a child. It's such a treat to go there. And I still remember my library card number. Some things you never forget. Bunny's Book Club. Bunny loved books. He loved them ever since he first heard the lady with the red glasses reading aloud outside at the library. As he listened, Bunny imagined himself climbing mountains, captaining a ship, ruling a kingdom. Oh my goodness, my pages are sticking together. Sorry, technical difficulties. But when summer ended, Storytime moved back inside. Bunny wasn't sure if animals were allowed in the library, but Bunny was sure he could not live without books. Night after night, he could hardly sleep for wishing. He had to do something. So with a flashlight in his paws and hope in his heart, Bunny jumped out of bed and tiptoed through the dark. Look at him with his little flashlight. Don't try that at home. But when he reached the library door, it was locked. So were the windows. Bunny tried digging, climbing, and yanking. Nothing worked. until finally he noticed. What? What do you think he noticed? What's a secret way to put things in the library? The book return! Bunny leapt. He clung to the bar, flung himself over, and wriggled his cottontail through the slot. Oops, I missed a part. Let's go back. The shiny handle was far above his head, but it was no match for a high-hopping bunny hungry for books. He landed inside with a thud. Bunny's eyes sparkled at the sight of the shelves bursting with books. It was better than a field full of fresh, crunchy carrots. That's a lot of books in there. Bunny didn't know where to start. He took a deep breath. It smelled as if he were wrapped inside the pages of his favorite book. He followed his nose to the adventure section. There he found stories about swashbucklers, sharks, and superheroes. Bunny greedily grabbed them all. His whiskers twitching with excitement, he slipped his treasures through the book slot one by one. Then, performing his best balancing act, Bunny wobbled home. He couldn't wait to dig in. He was very brave to do that. And so Bunny returned to the library each night. He searched and sneaked, then scurried back to read. Soon his home was more books than burrow. He's filling it up like the carrot bunny. Then one evening, a loud knock startled Bunny. He closed his book and opened the door. "Where have you been?" asked Porcupine. "Reading," said Bunny. "Why?" said Porcupine. Bunny's eyes popped wide open. "Why?" he sputtered. "Have you ever been to the library?" It was time for Bunny to let Porcupine in on his secret. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" said Porcupine. "Calm your quills," said Bunny. "I'm too prickly. I'll never fit." Bunny pushed and shoved until pop went Porcupine. Bunny slipped in and flipped on his flashlight. "Whoa," said Porcupine. "I know," said Bunny. "Do you think there's a story about balloons? I've always wondered about balloons." "Most definitely," said Bunny. Sure enough, Porcupine found books on balloons, and on deserts and dunes, on caterpillars and cocoons. But when Bunny handed him one about hedgehogs, he hugged it. The two friends took turns cramming books out the slot. Their towers teetered so high they could barely carry them. Back at Bunny's, they cozied up with cups of tea and carrot muffins. Together, they read until sunrise. One night, Bear noticed the light on at Bunny's. He opened the door and tripped over a stack of books. "What's going on?" said Bear. "Here," said Bunny, handing him a book. Bear made room and settled in to read. Soon, more curious animals began visiting. "Do you have any books about outer space?" said Bird. "Or about volcanoes?" asked Mole. "I'd like a good ghost story," said Mouse. "I think it's time for a field trip," said Bunny. "You know where they're going." Yes, the librarians are going to be very confused if they notice the books missing, right? One by one, the animals stuffed themselves inside the library. Bear caused a bit of a delay. Poor Bear. They scattered about, sniffing the stacks, pawing over pages. Squirrel gathered stories about the circus. Raccoon nabbed one about outlaws and bandits. Frog found a fairy tale. No one heard the key in the front door. No one heard the clack, clack, clacking of footsteps. No one heard the light flick on. What's gonna happen? "What do we have here?" said the librarian. Uh-oh. The animals looked up in shock. Bunny gasped. Porcupine gaped. Bear groaned. Follow me, she said. The animals marched slowly behind her. We're done for, whispered Porcupine. All libraries have rules, said the librarian sternly. Bunny's whiskers trembled. Porcupine's back bristled. Bear eyed the door. Bunny stepped forward to take the blame. The librarian leaned down. Dun dun dun! The first rule is every book lover must have one of these, she said. She handed Bunny and his friends shiny new library cards. Ah, look, there's a little library card going to Bunny. Now you may borrow books, she said, smiling, as long as you return them, of course. Bunny couldn't believe his ears. They could keep coming to the library. He beamed at his fellow readers, then bounced to the shelves. He picked the perfect book, and he proudly checked out the very first official selection for Bunny's Book Club. Hooray! How sweet. The end. Okay. My last story for you from my childhood is about the garden that we had that my father tended to all the time in our backyard. We used to have, when I was a kid, a huge garden. It was a lot of work. We grew a lot of produce, not as much as Farmer Greg, of course, but it was a lot. My summers, I remember, being spent in that garden picking and preparing vegetables. I always had a little corner that my dad would make for me. He taught me how to hoe the rows nice and straight, how to plant the seeds, and in my garden I always grew zinnias. That was my signature crop. So as we got older and my sisters moved out and we needed fewer vegetables, our garden became a lot smaller. My father built it up on made a raised bed out of railroad ties, which are the big cubed long pieces of wood that you see on railroad tracks under the rails. So we had sort of a raised bed that was about 2.5 feet high, which should be high enough to deter most rabbits. But for some reason, we had rabbits in our garden one year, and my dad was not having that. So he tried a couple different things and ultimately decided to put a fence in around the garden. So we put in a really nice fence around the perimeter of the garden. And the fence was about 3 feet high, so on top of the 2-foot high raised bed. So it was almost, a little over 5 feet to the top and had a little gate. So we would go in to get the vegetables, and still the plants were being eaten. Somehow the rabbits were still getting in. We could not figure out how they were able to open the gate. There was no way they were squeezing under the fence or through the fence. Were they hopping 5 feet into the air to get in? It was a real mystery, and it was really making my dad mad. He didn't want to share his garden with the rabbits. And then one day we realized that my dad had fenced the rabbits in. So there was a rabbit family living in our garden, which must have been wonderful for them because they had an all-you-can-eat buffet whenever they stepped outside their little hole in the ground in there. But not so good for us because they had limitless access to our vegetables. So I believe my father relocated the rabbit family outside of the garden, and all was well. So our Director of Education, Hope Kelly, has informed me that our learning garden this year will have zinnias. Yay! I love zinnias. They're great cut flowers to put in water. Have another joke for you. What is a bunny's favorite game? What do you think bunnies like to do? I'll give you a hint. It's usually something you play outside. If you have any suggestions, feel free to use the chat box. Let me know what you think. I'll give you another minute. What is a bunny's favorite game? Anyone? The answer is hopscotch. Ha! Those are all my personal stories and all of my hilarious jokes, which I'm sure you all enjoyed very much. I have one more long book to read to you. Oh, Jay guessed hopscotch. Sorry, Jay, I didn't see your answer till after I announced it, but Jay is the winner. All right, so I have one more book to read to you. This is a long book, a bit long, so just warning you in advance. And it's also a very old book, and it's about a rabbit named Marshmallow. I love this book. I've said it again before, and I'll say it again. The illustrations are beautiful. This book doesn't have as many colorful illustrations as the others that we've read, but it's still an amazing story and a beautiful book. It was written by and illustrated by Claire Turley Newberry. And I wrote down a few notes that I wanted to share with you about her. She wrote over 15 stories. We have several other ones about cats. And someday when I do some cat story times, I'll read those to you. She also had a pet ocelot. This was a long time ago when that was allowed. It's no longer allowed. And she's best known for her illustrations of cats, which she based on her pet ocelot. She used him as a model. I'm going to read you the story, and because there aren't a lot of pictures, I'm not going to turn the camera, the webcam this time. So you'll have to see my face so that I can see all the words easily. But I will show you the pictures as they come. I got this book at the library book sale, which someday we will have again, and I highly recommend it. Oh, it's a bit sunny. Let me get set up here so you can see it better. This is Marshmallow. I love the way that this illustrator draws. Just a few lines here and there, a little bit of color. It's just beautiful, very simple. Never think that you can't draw. I have two children. One of them is an excellent artist from birth. She draws amazing illustrations, better than I could ever draw. I have another child who thinks he's not a good artist because his sister is so naturally gifted. And I never thought that I could draw or paint or anything like that because my mother's an artist and one of my sisters is incredibly creative. And I always figured that they got the genes for creativity. But a few years ago, I started taking art classes and I realized that I can. You'll be surprised at how amazing you can become. Yeah, I can set it up here. Marshmallow. Look how cute he is. What's that? We're going to learn about an old book. Okay, I hope that you can see that. If anybody will let me know if that looks okay, I'd appreciate it. And I skipped the first page, so let's go back. Here we are. Okay. Oliver was a cat of middle age, gray with tabby markings. He was a bachelor without wife or kittens and lived in an apartment in Manhattan. A housekeeper, Miss Tilly, who had been with him since kittenhood, looked after the place and prepared his meals. Many a cat has to catch his dinner before he can eat it, but Oliver was lucky. When he was hungry, all he had to do was mention the fact to Miss Tilly, and she would open the refrigerator and get out his liver or chopped beef. Peace and quiet was what he wanted. Looks like a very happy, spoiled little kitty. As Oliver never went out, he did not know that the world was full of other animals. How could he? when he had never met any of them, socially or otherwise. The only mice in his life were the gray flannelette toy ones filled with catnip that he received at Christmas, and the nearest thing to a rabbit he had ever seen was a stuffed plush Easter bunny that had been given to Miss Tilly with a box of candy. But Oliver did not care. Peace and quiet was what he wanted, and his meals on time. Life, however, cannot always be like that. One day Miss Tilly called him from the kitchenette. "Kitty, kitty," she called, "come here, I have a surprise for you." "Wow," replied Oliver, and he hurried to the kitchenette, expecting to find dinner served in its usual place under the sink. But it wasn't dinner this time. Miss Tilly really did have a surprise for him. She was smiling at something she held in her two cupped hands. It was small and white and furry. "What do you think of this, Oliver?" she said. "Its name is Marshmallow." She held the furry thing to her cheek for a moment, as though it were very nice indeed. Then she set it on the floor. It had tall ears, pink eyes, and a wiggly nose and twitchy whiskers. And to Oliver's dismay, it was alive. Oliver was appalled. He took one wild look at the creature, then squinched his eyes tight shut, as if he could not bear the sight of it. "Oliver, what is the matter with you?" cried Miss Tilly. "Don't tell me you're afraid of the little tiny baby bunny." But Oliver was afraid. He was too frightened even to run away, but crouched in a corner of the kitchenette, opening and closing his eyes as if it actually hurt them to look at a rabbit. As for Marshmallow, he paid no attention to anybody. He was a very unhappy little bunny. All he wanted was to be at home again with his nice, warm, furry mother. If he had been a kitten, he would have mewed. If he had been a puppy, he would have howled. And if he had been a baby, he would have cried his eyes out. But being a bunny, he just sat still and felt sad. Poor little bunny. However, he cheered up a bit when he had his dinner. A raw carrot with its green top and a bowl of rolled oats, dry, not cooked the way people like them. The bowl said dog on it, for the shop where Miss Tilly had bought Marshmallow did not have any dishes with rabbit or bunny on them. But as Marshmallow could not read, this did not much matter. He ate the green carrot top first, for he was thirsty. Then he munched part of the carrot. After that, he tried the rolled oats, eating with little quick nibbles, crunch, 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 and with his front paws in the dish. When he had finished eating, he hopped into the bowl and took a nap. That night, Marshmallow slept in the bathroom. Miss Tilly made him a bed out of a folded towel so he would be comfortable. But it was not the same as having a soft, furry mother to cuddle against. Still, he did not cry. Nor did he yowl for his breakfast the next morning. "If you were nice and quiet like that, Oliver," yawned Miss Tilly when Oliver woke her, as he always did, with frantic scratchings and meowings at her bedroom door. He was even earlier than usual this morning because he was so excited over having a new animal in the house. Miss Tilly warmed some chopped beef for him, gave Marshmallow another carrot, and made herself some coffee and toast. Then she sat down at her typewriter and wrote a poem in praise of rabbits. "A bunny is a quiet pet. A bunny is the best thing yet. A bunny never makes a sound. A bunny's nice to have around. Puppies whimper, bark, and growl. Kittens mew, and tomcats yowl. Birdies twitter, chirp, and tweet. Moo cows moo, and lambkins bleat. Some creatures bellow, others bray. Some hoot or honk or yay or nay. Most creatures make annoying noises, like the dog you can hear barking right now in the background. Even little girls and boyses. A bunny, though, is never heard. He simply never says a word. A bunny's a delightful habit. No home's complete without a rabbit." That morning, Oliver felt much braver. He hardly squinched his eyes at all when he looked at the bunny now, and by afternoon he was watching Marshmallow with an expression that would have frozen the blood of an older and wiser rabbit. Marshmallow, however, was a very young rabbit, so young that he scarcely noticed what went on around him. He was like a tiny new baby that cannot yet focus its eyes. He ate when he was hungry, and the rest of the time he slept, with his paws tucked up under him to keep them warm. He certainly didn't act very dangerously, and presently Oliver grew bolder. He began creeping toward the sleeping bunny, his eyes glaring wickedly. But just as he lashed his tail and got ready to spring, Miss Tilly cried, "Oliver, don't you dare hurt that bunny." Oliver sat up, blinking innocently, as if to say, "Why, Miss Tilly, what an idea! I wouldn't dream of such a thing." But Miss Tilly was not so sure. "This just isn't going to work out," she told herself sadly. "Cats always have hunted rabbits, and I suppose they always will." She put Oliver in the other room, and after that she did not let him come near Marshmallow. Marshmallow began to notice more. Soon Marshmallow began to notice more, just as any baby does as it grows up. He went lolloping about the apartment, sniffing things and then tasting them, and nearly everything seemed to taste pretty good. He nibbled the rugs, working very hard in one place until he had gnawed a little bare spot before moving on. He stood on his hind legs and yanked books out of the bookcase. He chewed the chair and the table legs. And every time Miss Tilly sat down for a moment, he came hopping up cheerfully to untie her shoelaces. He was a very busy little bunny. Marshmallow was the only live rabbit Miss Tilly had ever known personally, and she was surprised to find that he nibbled so many things besides carrots. She wrote another poem on her typewriter, which she called "A Solemn Warning to Rabbit Lovers." A bunny nibbles all day long. A bunny doesn't think it's wrong. He nibbles mittens, mufflers, mops. He only pauses when he hops. He nibbles curtains, lamp cords, shoes. He only stops to take a snooze. Sofa pillows, ribbons, rugs. He takes a mouthful, then he tugs. Galoshes, boxes, books, and string. A bunny nibbles everything. Whenever Miss Tilly went out, she left the two animals in separate rooms, for she did not trust Oliver. That's the cat. One afternoon she stayed out later than usual, and when Oliver woke from his nap, there was no dinner waiting for him under the sink. He thought he'd better remind her about it, so he trotted to the door of the other room and said, "Prow!" There was no answer, but he could hear odd sounds in the next room, small scuffling noises that caused his eyes to widen and his ears to suddenly point forward. These sounds were made by Marshmallow's little feet as he went lippity-lippity around the room, skidding every now and then on the hardwood floor. Marshmallow was feeling gay. He had eaten all the carrot he wanted, and quite a lot of a new magazine that Miss Tilly had carelessly left on the floor when she went out. And he had discovered her old plush Easter bunny on the sofa. Look how cute he is with the bunny. You see him? And he thoroughly nibbled its whiskers. Now he was just frolicking about the room, skidding merrily on the smooth floor and kicking up his heels for sheer joy of being alive. On the other side of the door, Oliver was listening and sniffing and listening, while his eyes grew bigger and bigger. "Wow," he said again, and scratched impatiently at the door. When this did no good, he stood up on his hind legs and patted the doorknob. Finally, he reached up both forepaws, and with one of his each side of the knob, he worked it this way and that. At last there was a small click. The door swung ajar, and Oliver padded silently into the next room. And there was that rabbit, skipping about as if he hadn't a care in the world. He didn't see Oliver come in, but went on playing a little game he had just that moment invented. Listen to this cute little game. I love this little game. He would dash several feet in one direction, stop suddenly, and spring into the air. Then he would turn, dash back to his starting point, and jump again, back and forth, back and forth. It was a very gay and pretty sight. Oliver watched with great interest. Each time the little rabbit whisked by him, he lashed his tail and got ready to spring. But somehow he couldn't quite make up his mind to do it. Perhaps he remembered that Miss Tilly had told him not to hurt the bunny, or perhaps he was a bit afraid. Suddenly, Marshmallow sat up tall and stared at the cat, his soft nose twitching rapidly. He looked most inquisitive, but not at the least alarmed. What was this great striped animal, he wondered? Could it possibly be his mother in a new fur coat? And while Oliver hesitated, trying to make up his mind to pounce, all at once, Marshmallow scampered joyfully up to him and kissed him on the nose. Oliver flinched and drew back, aghast. Then curiosity overcame his fear, and he sniffed the bunny eagerly. Marshmallow shut his eyes and snuggled close, blissfully happy to have found another furry animal. If this were not his mother, it must at least be a very near relation. Even when Oliver opened his jaws and took hold of him with his teeth, Marshmallow was not afraid. He lay quite still, and the next moment Oliver had let go and was licking his face as tenderly as any mother cat with her kitten. And like any mother cat, he licked the fur in the wrong direction so that it stood on end and looked all mussed up. But Marshmallow did not mind. He was so happy to have a mother's care at last. When Miss Tilly got home, she found them asleep on the floor, Oliver's head resting upon Marshmallow as though he were a little white fur pillow. After that, she let them play together every day, for she saw that they were friends. They romped like two kittens, and wherever the cat went, Marshmallow followed, lippity-lippity, right at his heels. And whenever Oliver lay down to take a nap, the bunny cuddled up to him as close as he could get. He could scarcely have loved Oliver more if he had been his mother. Oliver forgot that he had ever thought of Marshmallow as a strange animal to be pounced upon. He adopted the little bunny and brought him up as his own kitten, often scrubbing him so thoroughly that his fur stood on end for hours. And although Oliver never said so, I could not help thinking that in time he came to agree with Miss Tilly that a bunny's a delightful habit. No home is complete without a rabbit. Brighten your home with a bunny. He's fat. He's frisky. Oops. He's funny. He's soft. He's downy. He's cute. He's clowny. Oh, brighten your home with a bunny. The end. The sun is shifting. Thank you all for tuning in today. All of our videos are available. You don't have to watch them online. You can go to our YouTube channel, Newton Community Farm 2020, and they're all there for you to watch whenever you have time. We appreciate your support. Remind you to be well, be kind, and come visit with us again. Thank you. Have a wonderful day. Talk to you soon. Bye.